Hey Marcela, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Bienvenida, Marcela, al programa. So, and also you're welcome. So today we're going to talk about Marcela and her position about transit coordinator. And also we'll talk more about how is the situation of the transit here in our city. So stay with us. So Marcela, tell us a little bit about you. So you're from Texas, San Antonio. So right now you got a very important position in the city. How easy is for a Latinx woman to get access to these important positions?
I think I definitely experienced a little bit of complications along the way, but I don't think that it's a discouragement. I think it actually kind of helps in the long run because you become more resilient. And you kind of feel like you can do anything when you make it. You're like, I feel really good. But I know growing up, some struggles that I know that I felt that my peers didn't were, when I was applying to college, my parents didn't really know how to help me with financial aid or the application process. So that was something. And just working in government is something that neither of my parents did. They weren't super big on public participation. So it was all very new to me, but it's exciting too because I get to tell them about it and they're happy. But I don't know. I had a really good support system with my family, friends that could help me whenever I had questions, like how do I apply for financial aid? What do I do? Really great teachers that were able to support me when, sometimes you have people who say, you can't do that. That's out of your reach. So, yeah, it's been a journey.
In your new position as a coordinator of transit in our city, so how do you see, because you just arrived last year to town, and how you see the system in comparison to others that you have been known?
So I think that our system is a very ambitious system. From my understanding, I think it's pretty big for a city our size. I know there's issues with on-time performance, which I've noticed, which I think is also a growing pain of being a growing city. Coming from Atlanta, I know that the bus system and even the rail system that doesn't have to compete with the cars can be late and sometimes unreliable. So I think it's pretty comparable. Our buses are a little bit smaller, which is interesting. I never really realized that they were smaller until I visited New York, and I was like, oh my gosh, their buses are huge. But I think it's a pretty robust system, which is exciting. So I'm excited to be here to help solve some of the issues that we face.
And so part of your job is not only solving the day-by-day issues in the transit system, but also to see to the future. Mm-hmm. And talking to the future, so we got a transit master plan in the city. So could you please explain to our Latinx community what is the transit master plan?
Yeah, so the Transit Master Plan is a 10-year plan to expand and improve the ART system. So ART stands for Asheville Redefines Transit. So the first year, which is really what I've been focusing on, is focused on better on-time performance, so that when you are at a bus stop, the bus comes when you want it to come for you, and you can plan your day just fine. And also increasing frequency. Some routes can see 30-minute frequency, but other ones are 90 minutes, which makes it a little bit harder. It takes a little bit more to plan your day out. So those are two of the main goals of the Transit Master Plan. More frequency so people can get where they need to go with more flexibility, and then on-time performance so that you can rely on the bus to come when you think it's going to come.
Mm-hmm. So one of the concerns of one of our viewers was that sometimes kids that take after classes or clubs and they end up beyond the They're not having bus to ride back home. So when are we going to see the increase to the evening service until 10 p.m.?
So certain routes currently go past, like there's a route that goes to the University of North Carolina, Asheville. That one runs fairly late since college students also have those late curriculars. But hopefully we can see that that was recommended for year one, and financially it's something we can't do this year so far based on the talks of the budget. But hopefully we can implement that soon. I think it's going to be the next step, depending on what we're able to accomplish this year. So the Next Bus app has actually been retired. Our contract ended with them in April. So we've switched to this new service called Swiftly. And that is not the name of the app, but rather the service that has GPS trackers on all of our buses so that you are able to get real-time information on where the bus is located. To access that information, and I guess the really big thing about this program is it's open source, so you can get information the way that you prefer. So Google Maps uses the same information that Transit app uses, and if you use the text service, the 41411 Next Start, and then your bus ID, it's all coming from the same place. So that way it's information accessible whether you have a smartphone or if you're just using the text service if you don't have a smartphone. And it's also the same information that dispatchers see. So if you try it 4 different ways, it should all be the same.
How many grants or what grants are you thinking to apply in the future?
So as far as grants, we every year get money from the Federal Transit Administration, and that's based on a formula based on ridership, on how many revenue miles, which is how many miles your buses are going while they're picking up passengers, on population and population density. So we receive that money every year, and it's been getting smaller, a little bit smaller every year because of federal constraints. So that partially goes towards operations. And then there's other grants that we apply for. So most recently, we applied for the low and no emissions grant. And that one is focused on buying new buses. So we applied to buy 2 new hybrid buses for the system. And we've actually previously won that grant, which is what paid for some of the electric buses that are out on the road now. But a lot of times the competitive grants are not for use for operating costs. So that's primarily a city-funded cost of the transit system.
Now let's talk about how the community, especially those who don't have or means to drive, can get access to the small shuttle buses. To what options do they have? I know that they are for disability people, but is there any other option?
Through ART, there is not another option, but there's the buses, like you mentioned, for paratransit. Another option, depending on where you're at, if you're located in the county also has service through the Trailblazers. And if you're in Hendersonville, Hendersonville also has their own transit system, and they all connect. So if you're coming from Asheville and going down to Hendersonville, we do coordinate our schedules so that you're able to catch those connections. As far as special minivans for like work carpools, we don't personally coordinate that, but there are other aspects of the city that do help coordinate that if that's something that you're looking for.
So Marcela, our Latinx community is not using that much the bus system. Why do you think it's that for?
I think sometimes it can come down to communication and not having the information. I know earlier when we were speaking, I was talking about my abuelita who lived on a transit stop in San Antonio and never used it. So I always try to think of her and why she wouldn't use transit, even though it could have been something that she could have used. She didn't drive a car. But it was feeling welcome, not feeling welcome. And everyone's welcome to use the bus. I would want that environment. I want people to feel like they can use it and that it's a safe place for them to be, and that it's a safe and reliable way for them to get around if they don't have an option. One thing that I'm personally working on right now is getting a lot of the signage translated into Spanish and Russian so that we can be more inclusive of the different communities here in Asheville. And I think it also helps, like, word of mouth. Like, this is a way to get around. Like, I did it, and it's something that, you know, everyone can use, and it's meant for, you know, the public. So yeah, you can go downtown to the station and purchase tickets at Cox Ave. You can also email, if that's something that you're more comfortable with, at tdispatch@asheville.nc.gov. You'll still need to pick up tickets downtown. And if you call in to dispatch, there are translation services available. So if that's something that you're more comfortable with, then that's always an available option. And transit dispatch is trained to get translation if need be. So if you have language barriers, that should not be an issue. There's different options for tickets. There's regular price tickets, which are $1. You get a discount if you purchase ticket booklets or a monthly pass or a yearly pass. But there's also discounted tickets for students and for seniors. And we have all of that information on our website. So if you qualify for those discounts, definitely take advantage of them.
And we're going to put under this video, we're going to put the links for you to purchase the tickets. And so thank you very much, Marcela, for coming here. Es un gusto para nosotros tenerte aquí.
Gracias.
Ok, y ella estará regresando con nosotros. Ya saben, si hubo alguna pregunta que les hubiera gustado que sea contestada, envíenos un mensaje con la pregunta y nosotros tendremos a Marcela nuevamente para hacerles todas las interrogantes que ustedes necesiten. Bueno, muchísimas gracias, amigos de JM Pro TV. Thank you very much for all the viewers, and please share this video and let's work together to make this city more inclusive and more beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.